Hello students, in today's video we are going to see a particular question of, we can say, a linear equation question where it is given that a shopkeeper gave half of the apples plus half apple to 5 customers one by one without cutting a single apple and none left. So there was certain number of apples with the shopkeeper, and to each customer he gave half of the apples which were with him plus half the apple, but he never cut a single apple. How is it possible? It seems to be impossible question or impossible condition, but how is it possible? Let's see. Number one, the question is there were five customers who visited the shopkeeper one by one, and to each of them the shopkeeper gave half of the apples with him at that time plus half apple. He has no apples left with him now. How many apples he had initially? So let's see the fifth customer to fourth customer to third customer to second customer and to first customer. How many apples were given to the fifth customer? So that after giving him the apples, he had none left. The condition is to each of them, the shopkeeper gave half of the apple with him at that time plus half apple. So let's see if at the time fifth customer visited, the number of apples with him was X. So he gave half of X and then half. And he gave half X plus half, and none of the apple were left. So number of apples left will be X minus half X plus 1 is equals to 0. So we have to solve this equation. X minus half X minus half is equals to 0. X minus half X is half X is equals to 1 by 2. So X is equals to 1. So when the fifth customer visited the shopkeeper, the number of apples with the shopkeeper was 1. Now let's see if it is possible. Number of apple was 1. So he gave half of 1 plus 1. So he gave 1 apple. Out of 1 apple, he gave 1 apple and he has none of the apples left. So when the fifth customer visited the shopkeeper, he had 1 apple in it. He gave 1 apple to that customer. So we have found out the value of number of apples at the time when the fifth customer visited. Now let's see how many apples were there when the fourth customer visited him. Let's see the number of apples left at the time when the fourth customer visited was X. We can use another variable Y. Let's say Y. So he gave Y half of Y plus 1 by 2 apples. And number of apples left with him after this was 1. Because when the fifth customer visited, he had 1 apple. He gave 1 by 2 Y, half Y plus 1 by 2, half apple, to the fourth customer. Y from the number of apples which was left with him. Y minus 1 by 2 Y plus 1 half is equals to 1. Now solving this equation, Y minus 1 by 2 Y minus half is equals to 1. 1 by 2 Y is equals to 1 plus 1 by 2. Y minus half Y is equals to 1 by 2 Y. So 1 by 2 Y is equals to 3 by 2. Y is equals to 3. So number of apples when the fourth customer visited him was 3. So moving forward to the first customer in the similar manner. Let's see number of apples when the third customer visited was another variable you can take Z. So he gave 1 by 2 Z, half Z, plus 1 by 2, half apple. He is always giving 1 by 2, half of whatever is left with him, plus half the apple. And after that, the number of apples left with him was 3. Because after the fourth customer visited, before the fourth customer visited, he had 3 apples. So after the third customer visited him, he had 3 apples left. So Z minus 1 by 2 Z minus 1 by 2 is equals to 3. Z minus half Z is half Z, and 3 plus 1 by 2. 3 plus 1 by 2 is 7 by 2. So Z is equals to 7. So number of apples after third customer visited him was 7. You can also see a particular pattern also. How? 1, 1 fours are 4 minus 1, 1 double 2, 2 plus 1, 3, 3 twos are 6 plus 1, 7. So we can say that in after second customer visited him, the number of apples must be 15. 7 twos are 14 plus 1, 15, and you can calculate in the similar way. For example, number of apples left after the second customer visited him was Z, W. So W minus to the second customer, he gave half Z, half W plus half is equals to 1. W minus 1 by 2, W minus half is equals to 7. So half W is equals to 7 plus half. W by 2 is equals to 15 by 2. So we can say that after the second customer visited, he had 15 apples with him. Now let's see how many apples were there when the first customer visited him. Let's say the number of apples with him when the first customer visited was N. This is before the first customer visited. Let's say this is N. So to the first customer, he gave half of N plus 1 by 2. So when we subtract N minus 1 by 2 N plus half, that will give us 15, which is the number of apples left with him before the second customer visited. All these are number of apples which were left before that. Before fifth customer visited, he had 1 apple. Before fourth customer visited, he had 3 apples. Before third customer visited, he had 7 apples. Before second customer visited, he had 15 apples. Now, before first customer visited, he had n minus 1 by 2, n minus half is equals to 15. N minus half is 1 by 2, and 15 plus half. So n by 2 is equals to 31 by 2. 15 twos are 31. 30 plus 1 is 31. So n is equals to 31. Number of apples with him before the first customer visited was 31. So now let's see how many apples were given to each of them. So when the first customer visited him, he had 31 apples. And the first customer, he gave half of this 31 plus half the apple. Half of 31 is 15.5. He had 31 apples with him initially. To the first customer, he gave half of 31 plus 1 by 2, which is 32 by 2, which is 16. So to the first customer, he gave 16 apples. And now he has 31 minus 16 is equals to 15 apples. To the second customer, he gave 15 by 2, half of this plus 1 by 2. That is 16 by 2. And 16 by 2 is 8. To the second customer, he gave 8 apples. And 15 minus 8 is equals to 7. So 7 apples are left now. To the third customer, he gave 7 by 2, half of 7, plus half more apple. So that is 8 by 2. He gave 4 apples to the third, and number of apples left with him is 3. To the fourth customer, he gave half of 3 plus half. To the fourth customer, he gave 3 by 2 plus 1 by 2. That is 4 by 2 is equals to 2 apples. So he has 3 minus 2, 1 apple left. And to fifth customer, he gave 1 by 2 of 1 plus half more. That is 1 apple. And 1 minus 1 is 0. So he had no apples left with him after the fifth customer. So initially he had 31 apples.